All right, and as we move on here in our studies for the day, the next section we're going to discuss is a section titled Principles in the Constitution. And we're going to do a quick breakdown of these one by one, and that's how we're going to finish class today. Popular sovereignty, meaning that sovereignty is freedom, the people have the right to choose, is one of the major ideas in the Constitution, although not necessarily for the president because of the Electoral College. We know that in all other elections, people get to choose who their leaders are. Now, this wasn't always true. People didn't vote for their senators until about 120 years ago. For the first half of our country, senators were chosen by state governments. But generally speaking, the idea of popular sovereignty, of voting for your leaders, is in the Constitution. Republicanism is the idea of a republic, not political party Republicans, but a republic is a representative democracy. It's a democracy where you vote for people who go and represent you. And that is really largely how our country is set up. Now, we spent this morning looking at some propositions, which are direct democracy, but this only happens like every 2 years. We only get about 10 to choose from, where all of the other laws that take place every day are done by representatives. So yes, our valley is represented by a guy named Brad Sherman. Our city where I live is represented in Sacramento by a guy named Jesse Gabriel. So we do have a republic, mostly, with a few elements and then direct democracy. Limited government. We didn't want one person, one group to have too much power. We tried to put checks and balances, and you see this is the actual picture I chose on my document that I made to try and make it so that each branch of government, and there were 3 branches of government, could check the other one's power. So we have examples. The budget is made by Congress, not the president. He can't make laws. He can't spend money. That's up to Congress. So therefore, you need to have a president and Congress working together to get stuff done. The Supreme Court, the 3rd branch, can strike down stuff that either of those two do. Executive orders, which are temporary, and laws by Congress can be struck down by the Supreme Court. So these guys all have to be working together for stuff to get done. It was intentional that way. They didn't want our government to be shifty, to be able to change quickly and off in opposite directions, because we wanted a kind of a solid, stable, slow working government that it took a lot of time to get stuff really changed. So we could make sure that we all wanted. We're not going to just, shift in this direction and then that direction and then this direction like a rocking boat. We want to be kind of like a cruise ship that's just slow and steady, although those things actually are pretty fast. Federalism is the idea of multiple layers of government, and we're going to do a whole section about this. Not only do we have a federal government in DC, but we have state government in Sacramento. We have a city government in LA. And we understand that our president, whoever he is, Obama, Trump, Clinton, Bush, they don't know what's going on Topanga, right? They don't understand what's going on in my city. Down at the Westerfield Mall, they have bigger fish to fry than to focus on, what's happening at the promenade. Although it's pretty exciting, and I'm really happy about the plans. Also, I just drove by there yesterday and I saw the Halloween Fest coming up, $70 for a car. Drive through, get a little scared during the coronavirus. Maybe it's worth it if you pack those people in. But federalism is different layers of government with different responsibilities. The 10th Amendment of the Constitution says that anything not in this Constitution is up to the states. And then the states have certain things that they do, and they say cities do the other things. So the police department, for example, here in LA is run by LA. It's not run by DC. Trump has no say on our police department, and neither does Newsom in Sacramento. It's up to our mayor, it's up to Garcetti. Local control is part of the idea of federalism. Different layers of government. We talked about separation of powers, that each one of these 3 branches is a separate entity with its own power. Checks and balances I've talked about. Individual rights. So when the Constitution was made, they said, look, we need to have a Bill of Rights attached. And people, this was back at a time when people's word mattered. They said, yeah, we'll make the Bill of Rights. And then they did. They didn't just say something and then, oops, sorry, I changed my mind 2 years later. So individual rights spelled out in the Bill of Rights is a big part of our Constitution. And the idea that the document is a living document, that over time there will be changes and there's a process in which those changes can be made. It's really hard to pass an amendment. We're going to get there and we're going to find out. We're going to say, oh man, passing an amendment to the Constitution is incredibly hard, but it's possible. Okay? And that was intentional. The framers of the Constitution wanted to allow the Constitution itself to evolve with our country and our time.